Open Your Eyes is brought to you by the Belize Bank. Our country, your bank.
Welcome to Open Your Eyes.
Start your morning right.
I'm Sabrina Daly.
And I'm doing Moody. And of course, guys, you you ask for it and it come ask and it shall be given to you. The rain
It's
is
here. It's here.
Yes, it's not as a little bit wet. But
this is the part where I talk about. This is the part where I know like.
But it's nice. I sleep really, really well.
Yeah.
It's like cool nights. I think we've been asking for that. We needed that, a little break from the heat. But yes, thank you. The weather was really nice coming to work today.
Yeah.
Like it said that it rain for the rest of today, but I don't think so. I just think it'll stay really cool all day long, right?
Well, of course, we'll confirm that a bit later. But it is a beautiful Tuesday morning.
Yes,
and
it is.
on the drive to work, Dwayne, I find myself these days just enjoying the scenery, especially when it's not at least raining, but the skies are so beautiful. I've been observing as of later last week and today, there's like a little bit of pink in the sky. And this is the part of, I guess, the morning routine that I now implement and just really enjoying being up at early that I show gratitude for because, me being a later riser type person, you don't get to experience and enjoy that part. So I'm really embracing the earlier mornings. And I just want to say that it's a beautiful Tuesday morning.
But you've always been a morning person, right?
I have not.
No?
No,
You're an owl?
Yes, I completely agree with your situation. I've had to adapt because of my job, but it's shown to be a great experience. After a while, of course, I didn't start out this grateful, but I've since adapted, and I feel like I'm like halfway on the margin to being a morning person. I wake up these days without grumbling, and I don't know if it's because I try to avoid my device. At least for the better part of this week, I've been trying to avoid my device because I feel like that kind of adds to me feeling like a zombie when starting the morning. But I just wake up and I listen to the quiet of the morning and I go in my routine and it feels very zen. And I want to say thank you for persons that, recommended different morning routines for me to take on. One person said just find something that you like and try to implement it in the mornings. So I like peace and quiet.
I like that. I like that. I'm an owl, as I've said before. But for some reason, last night, of course, I went to sleep early.
Yeah. Because you had early.
Yeah, 10:30, I'm calling that early, right? So I went to sleep about 10:30. And, I slept all through.
That's good.
Until 5:45.
It's probably the weather.
Until 5:30 and 5:40. When the alarm went off initially, I made that snooze for a little 10 minutes. And
Careful.
then I was like, I know. And then I was like, all right, let's go do it. And I got up. I had ironed from last night. It was like really, really nice.
Yeah.
And then, I know I have a long day ahead of me.
Because
of KTV,
Yes. Before we get into that, let's cover some of the harder What's Buzzing topics. Because I know we're all excited to talk about KTV, but there was one particular story in the newscast last night that I really feel we should talk about, and that was the murder of a 15-year-old boy. And I know that you covered the story, Dwayne, so I'll give you the opportunity to touch more on it.
Thanks, Sabrina. So, as was reported last night, we did have on Sunday a 15-year-old that was shot and killed on Rivera Street in Belize City. Now, it's so interesting because that story in itself had so many different parts. So based on what police is saying and the facts that have been revealed so far, this minor was going to commit a crime to kill somebody. The persons that were his target realized that that was going to happen, and so they then pulled out their gun, shot him, collapses on the pavement on Rivera Street. And then, obviously, he didn't go in the area by himself, because there is video footage to suggest, or that indicates that after he fell to the pavement, somebody came to his body, searched it, they ran back, came back again, then removed the body, removed the gun, and then took that same gun and ran around and got on Farbers Road and was going to go back to the house, but ended up at the Matura's residence, which was completely not involved in anything. Went to the Matura residence, and Wayne Matura was coming out of his yard at that time, and the gunman chased him and shot him in the leg. So it was a murder, well, a shooting death leading to another shooting that was completely unrelated, only to the fact that it was the people who went into the area that committed both incidents. And so it's just convoluted, but apparently it was due to gang rivalry in the area. And this issue brings up so much. What was a minor doing with a gun? Where were his parents? Like, what kind of monitoring was the parent doing? It's also the fact that there's a police checkpoint that is right on Rivera Street, at the corner of Rivera Street and Crawl Road. So it happened right up from that. It's like these the Commissioner of Police, Chester Williams, has always said, you know, there are these gun toddlers, because they're young kids, minors, walking around with guns. And if the police had searched a minor, they would have been uproar. Why did they search for a minor? But they would have found that gun on that minor. And could have prevented that crime from happening. But of course, the commissioner and the leadership intervention unit, they were out there yesterday because there's this tension in that community. And so we have him right now speaking to, you know, what kind of interventions they're going to put in place and the concerns that they have with this whole issue, you know?
So we do have an interview that was aired last night in the newscast, which has Commissioner of Police Chester Williams talking specifically about that, and we are going to air that right now, just so you guys can have some further context to the murder. So we're going to air that now.
The area is becoming of concern to us, and so we are here to speak with the people to get their feedback, and as well as to tell them what are some of the plans we have in place to be able to address their security concerns. We want the people to know that their concerns is not going unnoticed, and that as a department working in tandem with LIU, we will do what needs to be done to address the issue. We had put in place a number of mechanisms in this area to make sure that crime is kept under control. But recently, the area has came back on the radar. We were more focused in other areas, but we have not forgotten or neglected the area, because we do have a presence at the corner of Crawl Road and Rivera Street. But again, you know that the criminals tend to work around the police. And so what we'll do now, I had spoken to the security company, and we're going to install more surveillance camera in the area. Also, we have to look at making sure that the police officers who are working within the area do not just stay under a boot, but that they come out and patrol, move around the area, and do more stop and search. I've said to the GI3 that we need to go hard at those persons who continue to make our job more difficult. While yes, the LIU is there, and many may sit and say that even with LIU, crime is still being committed. We don't expect that through the effort of the police department and LIU, we will stop crime. We do not expect that. We'll be naive to think so. But at the same time, it is important to know that with the work that we are doing, it should reduce crime. and it is reducing crime. And so for those who may use this to say that LIU is not working, we can still look at the record to see that crime, particularly murders or violent crime, are on a downward trend. Parenting is a component. It cannot be that people will expect that the police and LIU will tell parents how to raise their children. We do expect that parents are going to be more accountable and are going to hold their children more accountable when they do wrong.
So, I think impactful those last comments from the Commissioner of Police, in that we need a society, we need a village to raise a child. And obviously, this minor was misguided by friends, by his peers, to go out there and do something like this. We were trying to get his mother to speak to us, and because this minor was to celebrate his birthday this Sunday.
Oh, wow.
And so instead of celebrating his birthday, they're going to be buying, instead of buying a cake, they'll be buying a casket for him. And so that's the reality on the ground. And we need to shock people so that people can understand that this cannot be happening. We need to do something. There must be some level of responsibility taken on by the parent, by the community that he's growing up in, all of that. We need to do something about this, because it was just a month ago, it was on the 5th of June, that an 18-year-old was killed on Farbers Road in that same vicinity, and it's that which is believed that's led to this murder, this shooting that happened as well. And so it's so crazy that, you know what, we're seeing this happen, and that area has been relatively quiet, that, you know, they've been holding down the peace. But according to the Commissioner of Police, he's saying that it's some younger, a younger set of persons that are now starting up all this tension. It's not the older heads that over time the police have been able to have mediation with and, you know, holding down the peace. It's a splinter group basically,
Yeah.
and they've been wreaking havoc at this time, and so they will need to do something to address it, you know?
You know, in some ways, I look at the media as record keepers, and as the Commissioner of Police mentioned, the LIU has found ways to calm down and slow down criminal activities that involve gang relation, and of course just crime in general. But I think even though maybe the records that we have might support that, whenever we see situations that involve minors, it really just, it opens the wound almost all over again, where you really look at the situation and you think, oh my gosh, there's still a lot that needs to be done. Whenever we think of crimes being carried out by minors, and we were discussing this while the interview was being aired, Dwayne, where, you know, the commissioner mentioned that there was police presence around the area. But as you mentioned, Dwayne, who would think to check a minor, you know?
Yeah.
Technically, you don't expect
That
a minor to be carrying out these types of crimes. And sadly, that's what has become the situation, where these criminals are hiding in plain sight, and they're doing that through minors.
Yeah, and you know, I agree with the Commissioner of Police. We have not been reporting on a lot of murders as a result of gun violence, and especially in Belize City, we haven't been reporting a lot in terms of these major crimes like that, because it hasn't been happening. So, and the record is showing that there's been a decrease, you know. But he's also always said that one murder is one too many, you know. But they cannot be everywhere to prevent it. But I wanted to ask you a question. Having the fact that, you know what, you've worked with a lot of youth, what's happening? What's in their minds? Like, you know, is it that they're trying to be a part of a group to associate with people, you know, as, you know, we tend to do that as young people?
Well, I think that the situation really depends on the area, as much as it really has to do with who you are as a person. Your environment also plays a really big part. And I used to work at the Department of Youth Services, where we engage with a lot of at-risk youth. So we would see situations like this, and now that the LIU comes under the Department of Youth Services, I can imagine the work that they have cut out for them.
Yeah.
As I mentioned, it really has a lot to do with the environment, and of course parenting does play a part of it, as you mentioned, as the commissioner mentioned as well. So it's really difficult when you have institutions and organizations like the Department of Youth Services, like the Leadership Intervention Unit, and several other organizations that fall under the Department of Youth, under the government, doing their jobs, but we don't have the family unit. And like you said, the village coming together and really standing by the efforts that we are trying to work towards as well. So it's almost kind of like they're working against each other, and it's hard.
It's like a whole, this can be a whole conversation, guys, that we can sit down and have. And I know that there are different perspectives as to who is responsible. And I don't want to say that you need to put it all on the parents, because sometimes kids, they're sneaky. Or at least when they're with their friends, you allow them that space so that they can, grow. They can find their own identity.
Yeah.
But I think we need to monitor our kids just a little bit more. They have access to all these different information and all of that. And so maybe that is something that we need to look at and see how collaboratively everybody can come together to raise that child,
It's tough, Dwayne, and as I mentioned, as much as we think of the criminal situation to be, okay, there's a crime taking place, it tends to sting a lot harder when you hear it involve a minor.
Yeah.
When it's either a minor committing the crime or a minor being affected by the crime, it hurts a lot more.
And just so that we can end this conversation, in terms of, it is not certain whether this would be considered a murder, right? Commissioner of Police Chester Williams made it clear that it is very possible that it may be seen as just self-defense. The minor was going to commit this crime. Had these persons who were his target not realized that and opened fire back at him, they would have been killed.
Yeah, it would have been a different story.
It would have been a different story. And so, is it self-defense? Is it murder? And these persons who actually shot and killed the minor, apparently they're not collaborating or corroborating with police. And so, what happens then? And so that is where the situation is right now. Will it go down as a murder or just a shooting death?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, of course, we will be continuing the coverage of that particular story as it further develops. And as you know, guys, you can gather further information in our nightly newscast that we will be providing.
Sabrina, and tonight is the night.
What a way to segue into
Are
something
you guys
right
ready? I'm slightly under the weather, but what, I wanted
we
to
can't tell.
But man, I am ready for tonight. Are you?
I mean, I hope we are. But Dwayne, are you? Because you're going to be definitely working late tonight.
Man.
Guys, as you know, tonight is night one of the live performances and also the first night where you will be able to find out if your favorites was selected to be a part of KTV Season 5.
Yay!
We are all excited, Dwayne.
Listen, it was a difficult job for the judges to get down to 12 persons, right? Because they were...
It was more than half they had to cut out.
Right. And so it was hard because there were a lot of talented singers this year, and we had to cut it down to 12. Those judges they were worked overtime. They were here on weekends, during the week, trying to make sure that they get these 12 persons who, will have a chance to win that $10,000 prize. And my gosh, making it to the live shows, it's intense. There are people calling in. They want to know, who make it? They're like, you have to tune in tonight.
Have to wait
or you have
see.
to go to the Bliss Center for the Performing Arts for you to know who made the top 12. Was it your pick from the auditions?
Or your picks, because there are, it's really hard for me to find one person that I really believe can make it. I think that there are so many
I
talented
have
persons
5
this season.
This is all, but I have 5. I hope the 5 make it.
Yeah,
But
this is like the pageantry elimination.
listen to me, but I have an issue, right? These producers, they hide this from me, Why they were hiding from me?
Yeah, that's a good thing to mention, Like, we need to make the viewers know that we're just as in the dark as everyone else is.
Crazy. It's like, my gosh, I'll be dealing with the social media tonight, and I don't know who make it to the top 12. This is wrong. This is so wrong. But guys,
But it's a part of the excitement as well, though. So we are all sharing that excitement with our viewers. I mean, as you mentioned, we all have our favorites. I definitely have at least a top 3 right now.
5.
I don't want to get attached to too many because the disappointment might be hard. But I really believe that they will make it because they are talented. And of course, that includes many other that performed in the auditions. And I'm really, really excited for this season. I saw some familiar faces, Dwayne, aside from persons that came and auditioned or were a part of the previous seasons for KTV. I saw some people that I went to high school with.
Oh, nice.
And they were talented. They were one of the good ones, Dwayne, just to say.
Let's hope that they make it.
I believe in my heart that they will. So I'm really looking forward to it. And we want to remind you that if you would like to be a part of the live shows, there's still time to get tickets. You can stop by at our studio here at Coney Drive to purchase your tickets or at the 88 Shopping Center. They're only $5 for adults and $3 for children under 14.
What do they talk about? You can't do it at home and just to watch it. You need to come to the Bliss. I'm telling you, it's a completely different experience when you are at the Bliss.
And you also get to win prizes as well.
You do, and there's the halftime challenge that is always fun, and you win really, really great prizes. And it's for everybody. It's the summer. It's summer break, man. These kids need to come out and just have some fun and really enjoy themselves. And we never disappoint.
You know what I was just thinking about, Dwayne? Last year when we had KTV, we also had one of the big sponsors being BTB. And around that time was also the Music Fest. And persons in audience were able to win tickets for the Food and Music Festival taking place. So you never know, you might be able this time around, hopefully, to win something like that as well. So those are the reasons why you would like to, or why you should come out to our live shows, because aside from getting the front row seat to entertainment, you're also able to win prizes on the side that, of course, our viewers at home don't get to, get.
And of course, if you're from out district and you can't make it to Belize City, we'll be live on social media, on YouTube, on Facebook. And of course, that's where I come in. I will, of course, be going through those comments again, guys.
Keep it kind.
Keep it kind. Like, nobody needs a troll. Yeah. Hello, do you want to be a troll? I don't think that's what you want to be. But anyways, again, we will be screening some of these comments. Anybody that is being rude, believe you me, you will be deleted. I have no problem with doing that because there are certain guidelines that we have. But outside of that, we want to hear your constructive criticism on the performance. Because at the end of the day, these persons, you guys are their fans. And you can, of course, when they decide to become artists in their own right, you are their fan base. So I understand. But we're going to, of course, be airing the live comments, the positive ones, the constructive ones.
You'll be the one
going through it. I'll be sifting through that thing. Listen, yeah. But
yeah, Dwayne, I'm really excited about it, and I hope that the weather holds up, that persons are able to stop by the respective locations to purchase their tickets.
They can. As of 8 o'clock today, you can come to our studios here on Coney Drive, or go straight to 88. You don't have to come all the way across here. Go straight to 88 and get your tickets.
Yeah. Well, definitely tonight is the night for the big reveal.
You may need to sing that. You may need to sing that, Sabrina.
How do you say? Tonight is the night. This is the reason why I don't audition for KTV,
I
guys.
love it.
We just work behind the scenes. But as we mentioned, it is the final night for us to, well, not the final night, the first night for us to find out who makes it for the first show.
Top
and
12.
we're all looking forward to it, and we hope that the weather holds up, that everyone is able to come on out
Mecca giving
and
us
enjoy.
our lead tip too, right?
Uh-huh.
I understand that, and this is all when they give me, what the producers they give me, right? I understand that at the 12 will also be doing duets.
Ooh.
So they'll be pairing up. Yeah.
Okay, all right. Excellent. Dwayne, well, we're going to transition into what we can expect for the weather today. As we mentioned, we hope that the weather holds up. But nonetheless, we will be getting further information from the National Meteorological Service. And we have with us online forecaster
Derek Rudon.
Derek Rudon. All right. Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
All right. What can we expect as it relates to the general situation this morning?
Okay, conditions still continue relatively moist and unstable and will support some showers today.
So the rain continues.
Right, not as much as we expected and
Okay.
not as much as yesterday. But yeah, it continues.
Okay. And this extends into the night. Could you give us a 24-hour forecast?
Okay, for today then we're expecting skies to become cloudy at times with a few showers, thunderstorms and periods of light rain, mostly over northern and inland areas. Tonight, partly cloudy with a few showers or thunderstorms, mainly over southern districts. So we're expecting a decrease tonight, really.
Okay.
And tomorrow, then, we can expect mainly fair weather with only isolated showers or isolated thunderstorms.
All right. With that, do you have any advisories or warnings for us?
Okay, the winds today east to southeast 10 to 20 knots. These moderate but nearly heavy showers and thunderstorms. Well, winds will become gusty and seas locally rough, so we have a small craft caution for today.
All right. Well, what kind of temperatures can we expect?
Okay, we can expect 87 degrees along the coast, 92 inland, and only 78 up in the mountains. For tonight, 81 along the coast, 73 inland, 68 up in the hills.
Okay. All right. And that extends, do you have a temperature outlook through to the rest of the week?
Okay, temperatures tomorrow warmer than today, and on Thursday similar to tomorrow. So around 88 tomorrow along the coast, 94 inland.
All right. Pretty good temperature.
Nice.
We love that,
A
man.
balance, right?
Well, thank you so much, forecaster Radon. We appreciate the information.
You're welcome.
And you have a good one.
Yeah.
Okay, you too. Bye-bye.
That was good. A nice balance. It's been raining since
Yeah.
Sunday, but it's going to, teeter off. We're going to see now some sun coming back tomorrow into Thursday. I like this. This is what we wanted, guys.
Yeah. And as they mentioned, the rain should hold up tonight. So if you guys are planning to come on out to KTV, you definitely should, because it sounds like it's going to be good temperature and weather-wise.
Of course.
But we're going to move into our show lineup, and of course we have 3 great conversations for you, starting things off with representatives from the National AIDS Commission to talk to us about the HIV Amendment Law.
Yeah, and we'll also have educator Alberto August talking to us about the 2nd Education Research in Belize Conference.
Nice.
That's interesting.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm ready for that conversation.
And then we'll be closing things off in our 3rd segment with the Belize Hotel Association to talk to us about their scholarship program and upcoming AGM. So
Awesome.
3 great conversations to look forward to. But of course, we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we'll start things off with the National AIDS Commission and the Commission's conversation about the HIV Amendment Law. So don't go away.
Get ready, babe. We're going on a vacation.
Finally, where are we going?
Don't worry, babe. I have we covered.
Are you sure you know where we're going?
Yes, babe. Oh, right there, see? Babe, the price was too good to be true. Me look much more better in that picture.
When life throws you a curveball, Belize Bank has your back. With our online financing, you can turn any vacation mishap into a dream getaway.
Cheers to Belize Bank for making our dream vacation a reality.
Thanks to you, be able to turn things around.
No thanks to you, cheapo.
Ouch.
Experience the future of financing with Belize Bank online, where you can secure funds for anything, from anywhere, at any time, all without stepping foot in a bank. Apply for a loan today and unlock a world of possibilities.
Wake up! Wake up! Now which cheese you think you may eat all the while? Gallo cheese with the blue rooster on the label is the traditional and the real deal. The original Dutch, redback or hard cheese in a Belize. Be aware. Check your label and make sure it is in English and for the Belize market. Gallo cheese with the blue rooster. The real deal. Santiago Castillo Limited, supporting and building our Belizean community for 95 years and counting.
Gaia Edam Dutch cheese, aged and tropicalized, the best formula for the Belize market, exclusively distributed by Santiago Castillo Limited.
Sign up for Smart Share Plan and save big. Whether you're a small entrepreneur starting up your business, a student on a limited budget, or a family trying to save, this is the plan for you. With unlimited SMS, calls, and data, we help you save. Get up to 5 lines for as low as $30 per line monthly, only with Smart. Sign up today at any Smart showroom or sales manager countrywide. So get your business going, share more memories with friends, and be ready for the day with Smart.
Welcome back, and we're going straight into our first segment for today, which is speaking about the repeal of the HIV law. We are going to have an amendment to the HIV law, and we have with us Enrique Romero, Executive Director of the National AIDS Commission. He's joining us by Zoom today, and we're going to talk everything about this. We're going to, of course, debunk any misconceptions as to what the repeal of this law is going, the effects that it's going to have, and all of that, and we're going to trash it out.
Yeah.
And so welcome to the show, Enrique Romero. Let's talk straight. What is it that is going to happen with this new amendment to the HIV?
Good morning, Dwayne. Good morning, Sabrina. Thanks
Good
for
morning.
the opportunity. As Minister Dolores Baleron Garcia mentioned in her interview, this legislation is really outdated. At the time it was enacted, we were at the start of the infection, so there were a lot of unknowns. People that did not have a clear understanding of how this is transmitted and treatment and so forth. But when at this point in time, 40 years later, there has been tremendous advancements globally in terms of prevention, in terms of testing. As a matter of fact, we are exploring implementing a new modality in Belize, which is the HIV self-testing. So a lot of advances, pre-exposure prophylaxis, people that adherent to their medication as prescribed by their physician can live healthier lives, provided, like I said, they adhere to their medications and they make some changes in their lifestyle. So basically, it's an outdated legislation that needed to be removed from the books, no?
The concerns that many people have is that, with the repeal of this law, it will, I guess, allow for the proliferation of this disease, this virus. Can you speak to us about that? Is this, and maybe at least so that they can have ease to their concern about this?
Right. Thanks. I know, and even Sabrina and Dwayne, in our communication campaign, we have to be very, very careful. We have to be very keen on the messaging, because on one side, yes, you want to ensure that people get the proper education and understand that HIV is not a death sentence anymore. There's treatment, there's support, there's social services support, care and treatment support services, not only from public health facilities, Ministry of Health, but also from civil society organizations who are part of the response. So we have to be careful with that. And the repealing of this law is likewise. We don't want people to get the impression that, okay, a certain law has been repealed so people can, willfully transmit HIV infection knowingly to partners and so forth. That is not the idea.
Yeah. So how do you criminalize this? Because the fact is that if someone willfully transmits this, like you have this disease and you knowingly go and engage in risky behavior, sexual behavior with other people, that was what was criminalized, right?
Right. The willful transmission, meaning that you had to know that you had HIV and you intentionally spread the infection to other persons. This is already covered in the Criminal Code of Belize. So there was no need to put an HIV-specific law, because an HIV-specific law, rather than deterring people from risky sexual behaviors, is just putting even more fear on them, fear of knowing their status, of getting a test, of getting treatment, So rather than the legislation being proactive, it was serving as a deterrent, as a barrier for people accessing healthcare services. And one of the key groups that is mostly affected by this is women, because pregnant women in these days, when they go into the clinics, they are offered an HIV test, and the HIV test is done in order for them to protect the mother and the child. So again, just to reiterate that the current Criminal Code of Belize addresses that. So there was no need to have a specific HIV legislation. And again, even though it's covered under the Criminal Code of Belize, if the matter is taken to court, then the person affected would have to prove that his or her partner knowingly transmitted the infection to that person. So it's really not a clear-cut issue. It would have to be proven in court, and it exists in the Criminal Code. The Criminal Code of Belize has legislation to address that kind of complaint as well. No, so in our view, it was outdated legislation, and there was no need for an HIV-specific law that criminalizes transmission, especially in this day and age when you have a lot of advancements, and we are advocating, rather than punishing persons for their behaviors, to put in place policies, legislation that looks at equality, that looks at anti-discrimination, that looks at anti-stigma, addressing stigma, and basically scaling up prevention services, scaling up treatment. When we look at the UNAIDS 1990 goals, there are still some gaps in our response, and particularly in the two key areas, which looks at treatment and viral load suppression. So rather than putting in place a legislation that punishes people, we are advocating for legislation that would provide safety for persons to be able to take a test safely, know their status, access treatment, and achieve viral suppression, which is the ultimate goal. No, so and Dwayne and Sabrina, there's literature review, there's extended literature on why, evidence-based literature on why having laws that punish HIV in no way does it create a reduction in HIV cases. On the contrary, it acts as a barrier. It serves as a deterrent for people not wanting to know their status, because with a law, the last thing you want to know is your status, because then you can be taken to court and say, well, Enrique knew that he had HIV and he willfully transmitted it to me. So it deters me from wanting to do any HIV test and know my status.
So then, Enrique, you guys are expecting that with the amendment of this law, you will be able to see higher statistics of persons checking their stats as it relates to HIV?
Yes, but to go further, Sabrina, evidence and data and studies have shown, even for us in Belize, we have done extensive studies by international consultants, have shown that the biggest barrier for people accessing services, and when I talk about services, from the start, which is getting an HIV test and knowing your status, the biggest barrier is the issue of stigma and discrimination.
Yes.
And legislation that punishes these behavior further stigmatizes people, further discriminates persons. So I think it's an excellent move. I need to give kudos to Ministry of Health, the Ministry of Human Development, the National AIDS Commission as well was one of the stakeholders and partners leading, involved and leading this championing this repeal. Like I said, it serves as a deterrent, and so we want to be proactive and put in place policies that advocate for less stigma, less discrimination, addressing discriminatory practices, because that, like I said, has been the biggest barrier that has been affected the work at the national response in the National AIDS Commission.
I mean, a part of your mandate is to advocate for persons that have HIV. Have you been able to hear personally from these persons on how this particular law really impacted the quality of their lives?
Of course, Sabrina, the civil society partners that we have, we hear a lot of stories, and I will share some of them, stories of persons being evicted by their landlords because the landlord thinks or believes or feels that the person has HIV. We have heard stories of family members staying at other members' house, and when they find out the status of the person that is residing with them, the family member is kicked out of that house. So there are stories, there are stories of persons that there was a case in your media house a few years ago, I believe, where a person living with HIV did an interview. The person's face was concealed, and the employer found out who the person was, and the employer, a couple of days after the interview, the employer dismissed this individual. Wow. So discrimination is real. The fear and among persons infected and affected, not only infected but affected family members, is real, and we have heard stories. So we're very thankful that this law is being repealed, but it goes beyond the law. It goes beyond the law. It has to do with behavior change. It has to do with society, as Dwayne mentioned at the very onset. People have the misconception that no, you can engage in risky sexual behaviors and you can have multiple partners. So that's not the case. So it's a combination prevention approach, and part of this combination prevention approach obviously entails legislative reform, policy advocacy, and making the changes in the books, to complement the work that we're doing on the ground with doing testing, providing treatment, the education campaigns, and so forth. So it's a combination approach, and obviously in the equation, legislative reform, policy advocacy plays a huge role in us in our fight against HIV and AIDS.
Enrique, you said that it's about reaching 90, and I think that the conversation at one point was also about seeing 0 new cases by 2030, if I'm not mistaken.
That's right.
Where are we in terms of reaching there? Are we still seeing new cases popping up? And how do we deal? Is this to help to address that?
Dwayne and Sabrina, sadly, yes. Annually, we have been seeing over 200 new cases of HIV, particularly among our young people, ages, you can say 19 to 39. And it's alarming for us because this is the age range when people are starting off their life, owning a car for the first time, owning a house, maybe getting married. So it's when people are in the most productive times of their life, So it's really troubling, and we have done extensive work in terms of the education, the communication. We have ads running. We have peer navigators, which are people on the ground. We have adherence counselors from the Ministry of Health. But like I said, one of the biggest barriers, or the biggest barrier that has hindered our progress, has been legislation such as this one that punishes rather than promotes scaling up of testing, rather than promotes accessing to services, rather than promoting healthier choices and healthier lifestyles. So, like I said, there's tremendous work ahead of us. There's still some gaps in reaching the 90 by 2025 and ending AIDS by 2030. We have gaps, especially when it comes to treatment. People are linked to care, and for whatever reason, many of them who are linked to care start care but do not end up retained in care. And that is a problem because if you are not adherent to your medication and you fall back and you fall from the system, then your viral load can go up again and you can be in serious problems. So there's tremendous work ahead of us. And like I said, this is one less worry for us in terms of criminalizing. So with that, we hope that people can freely now access HIV testing, know their status, access treatment, and achieve viral suppression, which is the end goal. Because when you are virally suppressed, then science is telling us that it's basically almost impossible for you to transmit the infection through sexual practices. No, so that is our end goal, viral suppression. And like I said, this is one big step in our fight against HIV and AIDS, repealing of this particular law. No,
and I think that there are other people who may feel the same way. And the repeal of the law, in my mind, even though I understand what you're saying, I believe that the repeal of the law is almost a moot point, because
that's right.
It has to be about your behavior and how you go around engaging in your sexual activity, your sexual lifestyle. Because in my mind, even if the law is there or it's not,
that's right.
If you don't change the way how you go around doing your thing, you can still catch AIDS, you can still catch HIV. It has to be a conscious effort that you need to change your practice, your sexual practices, right?
And that, Dwayne, you touch on a very important point, and that is what we are cognizant of the National AIDS Commission, that behavior change doesn't happen overnight. Mm-hmm. So if you're engaged in risky behavior, you have multiple partners, 3, 4, 5 partners, you use condom off and on whenever you remember and so forth, that kind of behavior will not change overnight. So that's where the work from the National AIDS Commission or our partners comes in constant education. And as you mentioned, along with legislation, you have the services, the medical services. Mm-hmm. You have the HIV, to begin with the HIV self-testing. That is critical. And that is what we're promoting and trying to scale up. With the support from the Global Fund, we have embarked on several initiatives. Like I said earlier, one of the initiatives is HIV self-testing. So people don't feel comfortable going to a health fair. People don't feel comfortable going to a healthcare facility and doing an HIV test because of stigma and discrimination associated with it. And in most instances, sadly, it's associated with particular groups of persons. So if you're not comfortable, what we're doing now as part of the initiative is bringing the HIV self-test to you so that you can do it in the comfort of your home, your office, your car. And we have support services also provided that in the event that you do it in your office or at home, there's a 24-hour number that you can call, a trained counselor, certified counselor, that can provide you guidance in terms of what are the next steps. So if the HIV self-testing has one line, the counselor can tell you, well, one line means you're negative, 2 lines means you're positive, you're reactive, and we want you to come in, and these are the next steps. So these are all initiatives that we are implementing under the new Global Fund grant. And like I said, along with legislation, you have to have the services in place. And tremendous work has gone into the response with support from Global Fund and obviously with critical support from the government of Belize in ensuring that people have access to an HIV test, people have access to medication, and in many areas, people trying to have access to the social services, the care and services. So it's like I said at the beginning, Dwayne and Sabrina, it's not about one standalone core component. Legislation has to be complemented with the resources for prevention, treatment, and care services, as well as prevention, treatment, and care services has to be complemented to the proper legislation in order for us to make a significant impact in the reduction of cases in HIV in our country. No?
Enrique, I'm here thinking to myself about, aside from the potential stigma that that is carried with HIV, there are other reasons why persons may avoid taking HIV tests regularly, I would say. And you raised a really important point where you mentioned that people kind of have this idea that HIV attaches itself to a particular group, when in fact it's not the case. And I wanted to bring up something because I saw this video a few weeks ago where a person in another country that also works with the population associated with HIV, he was mentioning that a lot of times what he finds really sad is that it's not always the persons that partake in risky behavior or are overly sexually active or persons that are a part of this particular group that society tends to associate HIV with. What's really sad is the persons that are in monogamous relationships that don't have several sexual partners and find themselves confused that they are HIV positive. And I think it's so important for us to really shed light on that regardless of you being in a monogamous relationship, it's still important for us to take that test because we are only certain of ourselves. We can't be that way for other persons, for our partners.
And Sabrina, you touched on a very important point of that monogamous relationship. And one of the groups or subpopulation that is severely at risk is our women.
Yes.
And so we have to, like I said earlier, we have to put our focus on scaling up testing, scaling up education, ensuring that this information is out there, because all it takes, Sabrina and Dwayne, is one encounter.
Exactly.
That's all it takes for a person to be HIV positive. So you don't need to have 5, 6, 7, 8 partners, to get them to contract HIV. All it needs is one encounter whereby maybe you did not use a condom, a condomless act, and the person was infected and you contracted HIV. And like I said, for us, one of the key groups that is really vulnerable are women because of various factors, and coupled with the whole issue of gender-based violence and the whole issue of the women at home not having that power to negotiate that their partner, their husband, their common law boyfriend, spouse, whatever, utilizes condom every time they have sex. So that negotiation or bargaining power is not there. So it puts women at a higher risk of contracting HIV. So women are very vulnerable, as you mentioned. And there are women that are engaged in a monogamous relationship only, and they're still put at risk.
Exactly.
So that is the message we need to put out there, that all it takes is one encounter, for you of a risky behavior for you to contract HIV.
And that's essentially the point that I really, really held on to, because indeed a lot of times we feel that, the ways that you are able, or the easiest way to get HIV is by having several sexual partners, but in fact, it's just by having one sexual partner.
That's right.
And really and truly, you can be in a completely monogamous relationship yourself, but you're not aware of your partner's sexual activity. So it's still important, even if you are in a monogamous relationship, even if you are in a heterosexual relationship, to test yourselves as regularly as possible.
And Sabrina, just to highlight as well, one of the initiatives also that we are implementing under this current Global Fund grant, and we have been implementing for some years now under the Ministry of Health, is the whole issue of partner notification. Mm-hmm. So as you mentioned, you can only be sure about yourself. You can't be sure of your partner. So the idea is that when you go into a health facility to access whatever services, you go with a knee pain or a arthritis or a cough or whatever, the idea is that the provider, and we call it provider-initiated testing and counseling, PITC, that the provider offers you and said, Sabrina, I know you came for a cough, but when last did you do an HIV test? Would you like to do an HIV test? And if you agree and say, well, you know what, yeah, let me do one. The idea is also that the healthcare provider will say, well, Sabrina, you know what? When last did your partner have an HIV test? Why don't you ask, when you come, why don't you bring your partner so that both of you can do an HIV test? Mm-hmm. So that is an initiative as well, but easier said than done.
Yeah,
I mean,
it is.
how, can you tell your husband, look, I went to the hospital and I was offered an HIV test. So the nurse or the doctor recommended, you come along, can you come along with me? A lot of issues will break out, including violence against that particular woman. And we had a real case in Dangriga when we were doing an HIV test. There was a young lady that accessed HIV testing there at the fair. And a few minutes later, her boyfriend or her common law approached the people that were doing the testing and was inquiring whether his girlfriend did a test. Mm. But again, because of the issue of confidentiality and privacy, no information was disclosed to him. But just imagine if somebody had said, yes, she just left here a few minutes ago, she did an HIV test. Mm-hmm. the violence that would have been perpetrated against the young woman.
Or there are
Right.
also arguments of couples saying, hey, I can take the test, and if I'm negative, then you know, the
That's
other
right.
person has to be negative, and those
That's
are
right.
other reasons why persons would avoid taking that test, correct?
That's right. That is you're certainly right, and that's a misconception as well. You know, I could take a test and be negative, and my spouse could take a test and be positive. So, like I said, the idea is that you can only swear, put your head on the block for yourself, not for your partner. So the idea is that when you access services, we try as best that you try to bring your partner. In the past, we have had several campaigns that you know, bring a man campaign, that you know, you come and do an HIV test, you bring a man along with you. It could be your father, your son, your brother, your uncle, a friend, your boyfriend. But the idea, because you know, data is showing us that in Belize it's more men, less men accessing a test, a HIV test, and knowing the status, but more men being infected and more men dying of AIDS-related causes. That's what the data is showing us. And as in everything, we have more women participation, more women getting a test, less women getting infected, and less women dying from AIDS-related deaths. So the focus we have had for some time now has been on men, particularly young men. You know, to get a test. It's not. Man, it's not easy to get a man to come and do an HIV test. It's not easy to get a man to a clinic to do blood works, to do to get an injection, to access health services, and that's where part of the problem lies as well. No.
So the problem is essentially getting people to get tested, and as you mentioned,
That's right.
one of the statistics that had come out from the commission is that there were 200 persons or over 200 persons infected
That's
with
right.
HIV. Do
Yearly.
you think that with more testing, or not do you think, because it's obvious, but with more testing we would be able to have a more accurate representation of where the population stands with persons being infected with HIV? Do you think if a real number is put out after more persons being tested, that it would create a sense of need and fear for persons to immediately get tested to find out if those numbers are higher?
Well, one of the key things for us is when you look at the continuum of care cascade, which includes the three pillars, which is knowing diagnosis, the first one, HIV test, treatment, retaining in treatment, and viral load suppression. So if we want to make an impact in the last two pillars and achieve viral suppression, which is our ultimate goal, we have to start with the first pillar, which is testing. We have had about 82% of the persons estimated to be living with HIV getting a test and knowing their status. Because according to the Ministry of Health, Sabrina and Dwayne, there is an estimated 3,515 persons living with HIV in Belize. That's an estimate, and it's difficult to know the exact numbers. So as a mathematical software, a spectrum estimate is done to estimate the number of infections in Belize. So one of the key initiatives is getting people to know their status. That is the only way you can, one, ensure that people access treatment and that people are retained in treatment so that they can reach viral suppression, so that they can no longer transmit the infection sexually. And also in order for us to educate our persons so that, you know, they can, you know, as Dwayne mentioned a while ago, some form of responsibility on the individual that, look, I did an HIV test, I'm negative, so that means that I need to continue doing what I'm doing because what I'm doing so far has been protecting me. And that, again, is complemented with a very strategic communication campaign. And as I mentioned earlier, we are very careful and keen in our communication messages because not because there's the condom exists, pre-exposure prophylaxis now exists, that people should have reckless sexual activities. No, that is not the case. We're just saying that we know that people are having sex. It's a fact. Even our young people, a study that was done a few years ago speaks to age of sexual debut in girls and boys as low as 12, 13, 14. Wow. So we know that our young people or adolescents are engaging in sex. And that behavior will not change. So what we need to do is provide the necessary support through education, through services, condoms, lubricants, providing PrEP, providing the education for these persons to access these services that puts them in a better position when they engage in sexual relationships later on.
You know, Enrique,
so that is the idea.
You know, Enrique, I'm listening to what you're saying and what Sabrina said just now, and I'm thinking where does the conversation start? At what point? You're saying just now that the statistics is showing that the younger, they're having sexual intercourse, or their debut to sexual activity is as low as 12, 13. At what point does the conversation start about HIV and its impacts and what is available, you know, and when do they get access to this kind of support and care? Does it start at 12, 13? Does the conversation need to start at that point?
I would want to say, Dwayne and Sabrina, that AIDS is everybody's business. And all of us have a role to play, from us as parents, the schools, the teachers, the churches, the management. We have employers, Ministry of Labor. We have had a very good relationship with the Ministry of Labor in terms of engaging persons with education and so forth. And obviously our parliamentarians play a big role as well in terms of legislating, enacting laws that promote testing, that addresses discriminatory practices, that seeks to provide safe spaces for persons to be able to access health services. So it starts from the home. Again, a very important layer in this part of the puzzle or the equation is the schools, the management, and also, like I said, the parliamentarians, you know, play a big role. Because, for example, currently, a person can engage in consensual sex at the age of 16. However, according to the law books, a person cannot access services until he or she is 18.
Yeah.
Or in the company of a guardian, a parent, somebody from human services. So that in itself, and I'm just shedding some light, that is another area that we plan to look at carefully, keenly with our partners, in ensuring that the legislation, you know,
there's a gap. It's not
matches.
Aligned.
Right. You know, we have to reduce that gap. And like I said, the best way to do that, and the only way to do that, is through evidence-based data. And we have the data that is showing that people or young people are engaging in sex from as early as 13, 14. The data is showing us that every year, out of the 250, 240 persons, majority, more than 50%, are occurring in the age range of 19 to 29. There are some below 19. So we have to be cognizant of these and make the necessary changes if we are serious about ending AIDS in 2030 and through legislation. And I know that legislative changes are not easily accepted. There's resistance. There's a lot of misconceptions. When people just hear about AIDS, they say, it's the AIDS people and they want to spread AIDS, and a lot of misconception, a lot of myths. So it is our job as the National AIDS Commission to ensure that proper information is ventilated out there. And I give you thanks for giving me this space to do that. To share with people that, look, it's not about punishing people, it's about protecting persons, it's about offering services, safe spaces to persons so that they can be able to access services. And by accessing services, then, you know, it makes all of our lives easier. You know, when a person doesn't access service and suffers from, and this not only applies to HIV, to anything, high blood pressure, diabetes, you don't take your medications, what happens? You end up in the hospital, and that's an economic cost to the country. Yeah. It's better when persons are healthy, or try to be healthy, or work towards being healthy, because then the economic toll is less. You know, and like I said, we're very thankful to the Ministry of Labor. We have done tremendous work with them, tremendous work with the Chamber of Commerce and Industry. What we did a few months ago, last year, we had sessions with employers, and many of the employers, the 10 employers that were there, they developed an HIV and AIDS workplace policy that provides support to their employees who are affected and infected by HIV. And this is a huge step, and I need to commend the businesses from the Chamber of Commerce as well as the Ministry of Labor for engaging in that particular activity. Because again, to reiterate and to end with the statement, we do not benefit from punishing, we benefit more from being proactive and providing support services. And that's what we're advocating for, providing support services rather than punishing sexual behaviors.
All right. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Enrique, for enlightening us on what the National AIDS Commission is doing to continue the support with persons infected with HIV, and of course to continue being proactive in taking the country as far as we can into an HIV/AIDS-free country.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
All right. Well, thank you again so much for joining us. We're going to take a break. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to take the conversation into the education research in Belize conference. Don't go away.
Technology is ubiquitous, and it's transforming how, when, and where we work. Fulltech Systems is placing award-winning devices in the hands of information workers, allowing them to work without compromise in a world without wires, to innovate, create, and to maximize productivity anytime, anywhere, satisfying the needs of the desk-centric remote and field worker and every other worker in between. We are providing the industry's best devices to businesses going through the process of digital transformation. Partner with us today to provide the solutions that will allow your employees to work effectively and efficiently to enhance your customers' experience. Fulltech Systems, your technology center, where you'll come for the price, but stay for the service.
When it comes to cleaning and hygiene, Karcher makes a difference. Available at Benny's, quality and savings.
My Social Security. Your direct online access to all your Social Security information. 360 view of all your Social Security information. Registration services, benefits, contributions, and employer services at your fingertips. Enjoy all the new features with your My Social Security account. Register with SSB. Submission of benefit claims. Submission of contribution statements. View contribution record. Enjoy all your My Social Security feature at ssbportal.org.bz. Social Security at your fingertips.
Belize's favorite Tuesday night entertainment is back. KTV The Remix Season 5. On Tuesday, July 4th, we go live on Channel 5 and streaming on Facebook and YouTube. But what better way to enjoy KTV than to be seated at the Bliss? Come out and win fabulous prizes and a chance to compete in our KTV challenges. Tickets are available at Channel 5 on Coney Drive or at 88th Store on Central American Boulevard in Belize City for only $3 for children and $5 for adults. The show starts at 8 p.m. at the Bliss Center for the Performing Arts. KTV The Remix Season 5. It's going to be fun, exciting, and live only on Channel 5.
Welcome back, and our second conversation of the morning is all about the Education Research in Belize Conference. We are joined by Alberto August, and he is an assistant professor and director of undergraduate studies at the School of Education Faculty of Arts at the University of Nottingham, Malaysia.
Correct,
Wow.
yes.
Wow.
Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me on the show. Thank you very much. It's good to be here again.
Yes,
Thank you.
yes.
Alberto, let's get into a history, like your background. You're from Keycocker, we understand?
Yes, I'm a Belizean. I'm from Keycocker, the La Isla Cariñosa. And so, yes, I've been teaching for the past 30 years in the school system in Belize for 25 and 5 years in Malaysia now. And so I grew up on Keycocker. You know, I taught in Keycocker Roman Catholic School. I traveled and then went to do my graduate studies. I was working at the University of Belize, then Galen University, and now back in Malaysia.
Yeah.
I also founded my own school, La Isla Cariñosa Academy, back in 2015. So 8 years, and last Friday we had our graduation of 16 students with the first full cycle, meaning the students from Infant 1 to Standard 6.
Wow.
Graduated 16
Well,
students.
congratulations
Thank
to
so
you.
much.
Your life is education.
Yes, it is.
Well, I want to touch really quickly on your focus. You are a professor at a university in Malaysia.
Correct.
What is your focus?
My focus is to work with undergraduate students who are preparing to be teachers and principals in the system.
So it really is education.
Yes.
Education is your life.
I'm an educator of educators.
Yes.
And so I served in that system along with, I served also in Singapore. I do teach a graduate master's degree program in Singapore, Sri Lanka, and also do PD sessions in countries like Maldives and other countries that we're hopefully exploring.
Is this where you saw yourself?
No, I did not, honestly. Yeah, I was in a predicament back in 2016, long story, but you know, I decided to venture off, you know, to go abroad, to, you know, to explore other opportunities and to learn, of course, from the system. And there was something lacking, and hence the reason for this conference that I realized in Belize is that, you know, I came after my grad working at the University of Belize, Galen University, we lack what you call research, conducting research, you know, and being promoted from an assistant professor to associate professor to full professor. See, that's what I was looking for, and I couldn't find it here in Belize, and so I decided to venture off, you know, to explore that possibility.
Let's talk about education research.
Yes.
And because that's what it is. This is the
Yes.
second that one that you're doing. Let's talk about where the foundation of the first one created.
The first one happened last year, you know, at the George Price Center, same place for over 2 days. And what I decided to do, because I realized that there are many Belizeans, you know, who have completed their master's degree, thesis, their PhD degrees, and they don't do anything with their research. And so I wanted to create 2 platforms. And one of those platforms is the book that you see there, Education Research in Belize for Belize by Belizeans, and it has 21 empirical studies. Now this is research in there, empirical data. It's not talk, opinionated papers. These are empirical studies driven by what you call primary data, primary sources. Okay, and so that is in that. So 21 Belizean authors are in that book that I compiled together last year. There's a second volume in press currently, and that is for the second conference coming up tomorrow, Wednesday and Thursday. And so that platform, the book, along with the conference, you know, helps to showcase, you know, what we have in terms of research studies.
You know, you raised a really important point where you mentioned that a lot of graduate students, they do their thesis and their heavy research-based finals, and after that it's done.
It's just stored in a flash drive or a computer somewhere uploaded.
You know, they get a grade and that's it.
Correct, and it shouldn't be like that.
So let's talk about that then. These theses that, you know, they get rave remarks from their professors that it was well done and well researched and thought out. And as you mentioned, it's not an opinion, it's research, it's statistics that they were able to gather. Why is it that we tend to, after that assignment is done, we leave it there?
Because we lack what you call research culture in Belize.
Okay.
See, that's research culture, and hence the reason the title of my conference is A Research Agenda with Research Minds and Cultivating Empirical Data to Inform Educational Practices and Policies. So we want to develop what you call a research culture in Belize. You know, getting our master's degree graduates and PhD graduates to continue, because the master's degree is only the beginning. You have your first paper out, and that should be out there, published, you know. We find it, you know, at the university level, a little selfish to do research and just store it in a flash drive. It's not serving any purpose. You know, for it to serve purpose, it needs to be out there. It needs to be in a journal. It needs to be in a book. It needs to be on a platform somewhere.
So then you are recommending that these research, aside from getting a grade, is published
Absolutely.
and shared with the public, as many people as possible?
That's what we do. We publish in journals, we publish in books, we publish in different articles. We present these at forums, you know. In this culture that I'm living in Asia, in Malaysia, you know, that's what we do, you know. Every year we look forward to going to a conference to present a paper, so some research that we did, and getting it published in a renowned, what you call a Scopus journal, some of the top journals in the world, and that's what we do. Next month I go to Mongolia, you know, to present on a research, you know, on the same findings that I'm doing at the university.
So there has to be some level of buy-in from the political leaders, from even those who practice, who are educators, because at the end of the day it is to help them to improve their craft. I am looking at the different thesis that is coming out at this research conference, and it's speaking about early childhood development. It's speaking about behavioral challenges and the difficulties that as educators you experience and all of that. And so it's to help you, or at least help the education system with how they teach our kids, teach the future leaders of this country, right?
It is to help us, and what, you know, I appreciate about this conference is that it's Belizean. You know, it is our finding, it is the problems that we're citing in our old system, and these persons, they go about exploring ways of finding solutions, you know, or at least provide ways, you know, so that we could venture off to that avenue. And so it is us, you know, it's not coming from some foreign entity, you know, or research from some foreign context, you know, it is a Belizean local context. So we can see our own limitations and move forward, you know, for best practices, and, you know, in early childhood, at the primary school, secondary school level. And so you'll notice the topic there cover a scope.
Yeah, I'm
yes,
watching
over
that.
a scope.
So in terms of getting that, because who are the persons that are going to be at this conference? Who it is people who are just interested in education? Are there other stakeholders that are being engaged? It seems as something that, at least in my mind, we're able to build our capacity of our educators within ourselves.
Correct.
We don't have to go outside of Belize to do that. Correct. And so why is it that maybe, or is it catching on? Are people understanding that, oh, you know what, this is where we need to go? Because I think that was one of the first statements that you started out with, saying that we need to change the culture here in Belize.
We definitely need to adopt that culture of research, you know, using empirical data, not only just a thought, you know, this is my opinion, you know, because of a certain political entity, I'm going to do whatever. It needs to be empirical based, you know, why are we making changes? How are we making changes? And these should be informed. So I'm inviting teachers, principals, you know, any educational students at the university, education officers, you know, and I'm very grateful that the Ministry of Education is supporting.
Nice.
They're 100% behind, you know, so I must thank, you know, Minister of State Honorable Zabane, you know, he's supporting, CEO Diane Mejia, they're all supporting in the ministry.
You know, it's interesting because one of the topics that will be discussed on Thursday is competency-based learning. And I am so excited about that, because we've seen where the rollout is taking place in terms of a shift in the way we educate our children. That it's not about just packing on all these different subject areas that really we think that we don't use them there, you understand? And we're focused on more competency-based learning and how that can help with development and all of that. And so let's talk about that, because there will be some level of research that will be disclosed on this.
Yes, there are a couple pieces. If you look at the agenda, there are a couple pieces of competency-based, and this is the way it should be. You know, that's the way it should go, you know, because competency-based curriculum is not what you know. It's what you do with the information that you know, which is amazing. And I talked about my school earlier, competency-based curriculum. That's the curriculum I created for my school, La Isla Cariñosa Academy, back in 2015. So we've been doing this since 2015, and so my teachers, we can absolutely relate to this, the teachers at La Isla Cariñosa Academy, in terms of getting the students to create. So it's no longer about just a test, and a quiz. It's about doing an alternative form of an assessment, an authentic, no, it's called authentic form of assessment in terms of, assessing and measuring the competency of our students, of our children.
I'm looking at, I'm going through volume 1 of your book, Education Research in Belize, for Belize by Belizeans, and I am so impressed with the level of research and just the topics that you guys were able to cover. As you mentioned, this book is an integration of several researchers. 21. Yes. And I'm looking at some of the topics, and I just want to name out some of them that really stuck to me. One of them included the challenges of learning Spanish as a second language at University X by Maya Kenpenner. The Chapter 14, the impact of music education on high school students. But this one, Chapter 15, factors influencing teachers' hesitation to teach sexuality education in upper division classes in Belize district.
Yes.
Impressive, and they were able to gather information through research.
Correct. Correct.
My question to you is, what makes a great research?
What makes a great research? Depending on what you want to do, and depending on citing a problem and crafting what you call a research question, based on a problem that we find. And when we say a problem, it doesn't mean that there's something wrong, we need to fix it. It could be a trend that you're seeing, a positive trend. It could be a positive trend that you're seeing.
So you can research something good.
Right, you can.
Doesn't have to be a problem.
Exactly. And that, when you're looking at something positive, or whether it's not positive, or you just want to explore in depth what you call qualitative. So there are two types of research. There's qualitative and there's quantitative. Qualitative tend to scope in depth. Quantitative tend to scope across, a broad group of participants. So what makes a good? It all depending on the focus, on the depth of what you're looking for.
I just want to read this out really quickly, and this was Chapter 15, the one that had to do with teaching sexual education in upper division. It says, this study explored the factors which may influence teachers' comfort level and degree of teaching sexuality education in the 5 content areas of anatomy and adolescence development, pregnancy and reproduction, gender and identity issues, sexually transmitted diseases, and abstinence in upper division classes in Belize. This is a particular research, this chapter, that I think we still need to work on.
Yes, and that one will be presented.
Wow, okay.
Yeah.
So every year, are you looking to have one of these conferences every year?
Yes, that's my objective, to have, so that in hopefully 5-10 years, we could all be using research, doing research at the university level, at the junior college level, and not just doing research, but sharing these research on platforms, in journals, in books, sharing the findings and what we call the conclusions after collecting all this data and analyzing.
So how can persons be a part of this initiative in sharing their research?
Yes, they can contact me, in terms of sharing. It's if they want to do it on their own, actually, it's not a very difficult process. It's just a matter of finding a journal, a reputable journal. And finding reputable journal, there's a site called Scopus. So they could go to www.scopus.com and they could find reputable journals in this particular organization. There are thousands of journals that you could publish, international journals, so that your information is out there. Then you find conferences. There are several conferences across the globe. To sign up. In the U.S. Even in Central America, I've been invited to conferences in the Caribbean to present your findings. So, but it's just a matter of whether your institution could support and assist. You see, but even institutions need what you call a research office to be able to find these conferences, to find these journals, and to support. We have a research office at the University of Nottingham, Malaysia, and it helps us to mount our, our research. It helps us to conduct research and publish these studies.
I am so impressed.
Same here.
Because I am going through my own process with developing my thesis right now for my master's program. It's so interesting because I want to make sure that whatever my paper is as impactful as it can be, that it does make change. Some level of has that effect on the way we do things, the way we see ourselves, as Belizeans. And I am so interested in this. I'm going to talk to you some more after
Absolutely
this. Because the thing is that a lot of times we tend to think that we have to go outside of Belize or find the information outside of Belize and how we want to develop, but that talent is available right here.
Yes, it is.
And we have people right here in Belize that are doing the requisite research. And so we need to, I think policymakers need to tap into this talent that we have. And I am excited about the fact that you said the Ministry of Education is partnering with you because they understand the value that we have in this. And so I want to see, and you also said that you're inviting teachers, principals, all come out to this conference to learn more. Education is key to everything right now, and so we need to look at the way. And so I want to just go back to that. Is this what you have planned for Belize? This is what you had. This was your intention from the get-go, given the fact that you started that with the ISA Cariñosa Academy?
Yes, this was actually what I wanted to do, since I could be about 5 years ago. About 5 years ago, the start when I reached in Malaysia and I saw the capacity, when I saw what they were doing at that level, I said, if Malaysia can do it, Belize can do it as well. Awesome. We have the capacity, we can do it, we have the human resource, we have the knowledge and the skills, of our educators. And many of them have completed, everybody with a master's degree completed a thesis.
Excellent.
And so the information is there, the data is there. So I just want to take the opportunity to invite every teacher out to George Price Center, Wednesday and Thursday, the 5th and the 6th, to the conference. It's going to be a rich discussion. That's what happens after, a rich discussion after each presentation about the limitations and how far it can go when it comes to research.
And there's a sense of pride as well, knowing that you were able to put your research to use, that persons were reactive to what you searched and you found out, and you were able to collect and put a message out there. So I think it's so important for us to even think about that aspect of how your work is impactful. Aside from doing this research for a grade, graduate level or PhD level, you're able to spark a conversation or in some cases, create a result. You never know, a research that is conducted could cause the government to want to make a change in certain areas. And I think that's where this can lead to.
Absolutely. That's definitely, and one other thing, you mentioned something about, that fulfillment that it gives you. Last year we had a couple of the presenters that was the first time I presented in front of a professional audience, my peers, and that's, that created excitement with us, that we could stand up in front of our peers and share our findings and our conclusions with them, and recommendations.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Alberto. We appreciate this, and we definitely congratulate you on the work that you've been doing, both in Belize and in Malaysia, and wherever else you end up. But we thank you so much for coming back home and contributing in research to Belize.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
All right. All right, we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we will be taking things over to the Belize Hotel Association and talking about their scholarship program and upcoming AGM. So you don't want to miss that.
Smart introduces Real Unlimited Postpaid Plans, providing customers with unlimited talk, unlimited text, and unlimited data. Now that's a real great deal. With Smart Plus, Share 1 and 2, and Enterprise 1 and 2 plans, you can talk as much as you want, text as much as you want, and for the first time ever in Belize, you can enjoy unlimited data with your postpaid plan. So come in and sign up for an unlimited postpaid plan and enjoy limitless possibilities. In addition, other plans such as the Flex Junior, Choice, and Select have been boosted with a lot more talk, text, and data, providing you with the best value for your budget. Be unlimited with Smart. It's time to power your dollar with Smart.
And now, the hottest match of the evening. Get ready for action. Here they come. Amazing. They're unstoppable, unbeatable. They have them on the ropes. The heat rises to the top. 1, 2, and 3. They're on fire. Chilenas. Fire up the taste of Belize with the new Chiladas crunchy tortilla taco chips in its hot chili flavor. Fiery habanero brings the heat. From Snackers, done right, done here.
Your life just got a lot less complicated with Belize Bank Contactless MasterCard Debit Card. Introducing our Standard Debit and MasterCard Platinum Debit Cards. Now you can make purchases anywhere MasterCard is accepted with one tap, pay and go. Your contactless card never has to leave your hands, especially in these times. And your card is embedded with multiple layers of security. Platinum card holders get to enjoy extra benefits like price protection, purchase protection, trip inconvenience, and luggage protection, just to name a few. Start enjoying a cashless lifestyle today with the Belize Bank.
Belize's favorite Tuesday night entertainment is back. KTV The Remix Season 5. On Tuesday, July 4th, we go live on Channel 5 and streaming on Facebook and YouTube. But what better way to enjoy KTV than to be seated at the Bliss? Come out and win fabulous prizes and a chance to compete in our KTV challenges. Tickets are available at Channel 5 on Coney Drive or at 88th Store on Central American Boulevard in Belize City for only $3 for children and $5 for adults. The show starts at 8 p.m. at the Bliss Center for the Performing Arts. KTV The Remix Season 5. It's going to be fun, exciting, and live only on Channel 5.
It's time that we realize that we must work together to thrive. As we know it, the sky and below it. Could I never have more wonder? Yeah, with life and all you see and the climate's changing. But hope is remaining. And we can't ignore the future. It depends on you and me. One chance, all that we got. One voice, together we stand. Take care, the world where we live. Permite a todos vivir. Tomamos la oportunidad para cortar la humanidad. And I must leave no one behind because we are. One climate, one Caribbean. One climate, one Caribbean.
Welcome back. We are in our third and final segment, and the conversation is with the Belize Hotel Association, their scholarship program, and the upcoming AGM. And of course, we are joined by the president himself, Raimundo Malik, the president of BHA, as well as Dr. Mike Hampton, a professor at Chaplin School of Hospitality and Tourism Management over at FIU. He's joined with us via Zoom. But we also have with us a student, Jaden Tuyul. He is a scholarship recipient of the Belize Hotel Association. Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning, Good morning. It's Reynaldo Malik.
Sorry, what I say? Ronaldo?
Raimundo. But listen, it's fine. Welcome, guys, to the show.
We could laugh about it now and you never live.
Him that wasn't feeling well.
It is so interesting that this conversation is taking place because we know that tourism is, and the hospitality industry, it accommodates for about 40-45% of GDP.
It's up to
50
it's up to
now?
like 48% was the last official number.
It is huge, and so we need to put an additional focus on what we're doing here in Belize, whether we have the capacity to continue to grow this industry, which is very fragile because we saw what the pandemic did to it 3 years ago. And so let's talk about that and why this is necessary.
Well, if you talk about the scholarship program and you asked me off here if we restricted it to tourism studies, and we don't, simply because tourism has such a profound effect on the economy of Belize right now that we practically touch every industry in the country. So when you look at that, for instance, Jaden is studying computer sciences, and as somebody in the tourism industry, I can tell you that one, technology is always a challenge for us, keeping up with the new technology, and then at a lower level in terms of getting good talent to work in the industry, the computer technology or the IT side of things does not escape that,
you're able
that
to fit them
lack
all in.
of talent pool that we have in every industry in Belize, really. So the scholarship program really plays a big role for us because it allows us to encourage academic growth, to give deserving individuals the opportunity to pursue what they really want. I always consider Belize to be a land of circumstances, a country of circumstances where people end up doing something that they not necessarily wanted to do, but it's just, well, I need a job. So this is what is there, and that's what I'm going to go do. So we feel like our scholarship program gives people the opportunity to pursue what they really want to do.
So we have with us a recipient of the BHA Scholarship Program. His name is Jaden Tuyul, and you've been a part of this program for 2 years now. Let's talk about your experience so far. When did you find out about it, and why did you decide to apply?
We found out about it because of my mom's where she worked. She worked at Belize Handlers, and they recently became a member, I think about 3 years. And from there, they finally got into it a little bit, you know, and my mom worked with the people there, so Mr. Malik. So when they explained to her that they could get the scholarship, she was more than happy to take it because she's a single mother, so, you know, it would help us out a lot. So that's basically why we... Now,
you have aspirations of working in tech. You are currently studying...
Computer science.
Computer science. Yes. And as Ronaldo mentioned, there are ways that you can fit computer science in tourism. So you might just end up, you know, working in the tourism industry. Is that something that you are open to?
Could be.
Yeah.
I mostly like the developing of like a website or something, like the coding part of the computer science, not really the hardware. So maybe.
Listen, there's a space for everything, like Renee said.
Well, I studied computer science.
Exactly. And so
I studied psychology.
Right, and so there is space for that kind of integration into the hospitality and tourism industry, and I think a lot of times we tend to assume that, okay, because we're doing this, it's not linked to it, and it is. Websites, everything. And so, Renee, let's talk about that, because if I'm not mistaken, this scholarship program goes back several years, and so what's your idea, what's your plans for this scholarship program in terms of its reach?
Well, it predates 2018. Right now, it's open to children or dependents of employees that work at our members, the BHA members. It only covers tuition right now. My dream covers up to $1,500 annually in tuition. My dream is to eventually expand that where it becomes like a full ride, as they call it, where it's tuition, it's books, it's other expenses, because we do make it available to those attending university or junior college. And so in Belize now, having to travel or having to move somewhere else within the country to attend tertiary level is becoming more common. And so I'd like to see, like I said, in addition to tuition, the scholarship program evolving to where it can cover basically all the expenses that a student may incur.
So we're seeing that the application process is open right now, and it closes on the 15th?
It closes on July 15th. We normally run the deadline into the summer because there's usually blips with high schools and tertiary levels in terms of sending out their acceptance letters, and then the bright people have probably multiple acceptance letters and have to figure out which one they want to do, you know. So we run it into the middle of the summer, and then by the end of August, you know, schools open back very early in August, so we try to get back to, we vet them, and we try to get back to the recipient, the lucky recipients, and let them know.
Is there a number of scholarships that are available, or it just depends?
It depends on how much money we have in the scholarship fund.
But just before we continue with that, let's get Dr. Hampton in the conversation. Dr. Hampton, you are a professor over at the Chaplin School of Hospitality and Tourism Management with FIU. Let's talk about your involvement.
Well, good morning. It's good to be with you today. One of the things, building on the conversation we're having right now about the scholarships, is that I have the good fortune of also serving as a trustee for the Caribbean Hotel and Tourism Association Educational Foundation. And we provide scholarships as well to students like we have here that can help them in supplementing the kinds of scholarship funds that they may receive from the local hotel association. So we can then have greater impact working together to be able to provide students with resources to pursue their higher education. We also provide scholarship funding for certificate programs and badging so that individuals who may not want to pursue a college degree can also get support to get those types of things that can help them progressively move forward in their career. Excellent. So there are many opportunities out there. So this is an exciting conversation that we're having this morning.
So essentially what we're looking at is several ways that persons can have access to scholarship opportunities.
Yes.
Wow.
Essentially, yes. Yeah.
Wow. And you guys were able to form that partnership through the Hotel Association.
Well, the Hotel Association is a member of the CHTA,
okay,
of the Caribbean Hotel and Tourism Association. So these, as part of our mission at the BHA, it's not only about working locally, but it's a lot about the international exposure and the international linkages that we would have through the CHTA, and then by extension, you get to meet good folks like Dr. Hampton here that then allow us to expand our thinking. I mean, learning doesn't stop when you graduate. It's every day of our lives. And so by forming these alliances, then we're able to think outside the box, or expand the box at the very least, and start having bigger ideas about what we want to do next.
That was going to be my next conversation, in that when people like Jaden transitions from high school, they can tap into what this institution has to offer with Dr. Hampton, right?
Exactly. We're looking to, through these strategic alliances and networkings, we're looking to give them a more long-term view down the road at what their possibilities are, both academically and professionally.
Awesome. You know, then my question would be, can persons tap into this scholarship opportunity if they were not a part of the scholarship program with BHA?
Well, BHA being a member of the CHTA, the BHA scholarship locally in Belize is only available. You have to be related to an employee of one of our members. You can't just be, it's not open to the general public then, right? By extension, because we are a member of the CHTA, all our members qualify for anything that the CHTA offers. Now, with this and with what Dr. Hampton has shared with us, or is sharing with us, now we're able to expand the scope and make that information available to our members as well. So they, like I said before, they can get a broader view or more long-term view of what it is that they want to do,
Dr. Hampton, I wanted to ask, like, in terms of the programs, I know it's the school, the Chaplin School of Hospitality and Tourism, but the different programs that are offered there at FIU, because like Jaden here, he is focused on computer science, which you wouldn't say falls under hospitality and tourism. Is there space, or at least what kind of offerings are there at that institution?
Well, I want to build on what you've heard already, because our scholarships apply across multiple disciplines. It doesn't matter about just hospitality and tourism or travel per se, because like Jaden's pursuing, computer science plays a huge role in what we do in hospitality, travel, and tourism. And so having individuals with those capabilities to be able to partner with us, to be able to help us in gathering greater research and insight on how we can utilize those new technologies to extend the kinds of experiences that we want to our guests, that's super important to us. Yeah. And so we partner at the Chaplin School with our College of Electrical and Computer Engineering in order to have students work on projects together. So we do a variety of different types of not just course programming, but in activities where they get exposure to different conferences, different programs that allow the students to be able to see the interface opportunities that are there. So we see that as a huge opportunity for students like Jaden to pursue that. In fact, one of the things that I was thinking whenever he was talking is building websites and the promotional aspects of what we do to gain exposure for our hotels, restaurants, airlines, cruise lines, all of those other members of our supply chain in tourism. Those individuals use, and those companies utilize the data that comes out of computer science, but at the same time, they use the tools and resources like websites or video segments, reels that go into social media, and the list is infinite of the kinds of things that he could contribute in hospitality, travel, and tourism by having that area specialization that he just mentioned.
Excellent. Well, we're gonna move the conversation into the upcoming AGM. So we'll give you, Ronaldo, the opportunity to talk about what we can expect with this year's AGM.
This year's AGM coming up on Friday right here is under the theme of think globally, act locally, create more wow. And basically what that is intended to reflect is the fact that travel is moving away from a heavy concentration on the room, so to speak. Like, I like that resort. It has a great pool, or I like the view from the resort. That's still there, and it's always going to be there. But what really we're moving towards is experiential and sustainable travel. Okay? For a country like Belize, this is right up our alley, right? Because I like to say, and being a member of the CHTA, I get to kind of rub it in on my members from the other Caribbean countries in particular, that we're all pretty much selling sun, sand, and sea. But then you get to Belize, and there's sun, sand, sea, the Barrier Reef, a blue hole, Mayan temples, rainforests. I mean, that list just keeps expanding, right? So when you look at it that way, and you have to sell the differentiators. We have to sell what differentiates Belize from Quintana Roo, from Costa Rica, from Jamaica, right? And that's what we have to now focus on. And then layered on to the top of that, many of these things that we sell, like the Barrier Reef, like the Blue Hole, these things need to be maintained. They need to be sustained over a period of time so that future generations that continue in the tourism industry in Belize, that industry can continue to go on. If we allow the reef, for instance, to die, and we can't market that anymore, then we don't have anything to market, or that's one less thing for us to market. So then we hurt our product. So the data, all that Expedia and all the other international organizations have amassed over the last few years, all point to the fact that, like Expedia says, 90% of the people that they surveyed want an experience when they travel, right? Or I think 50% of that number then also said they booked according to sustainability methods that the destination and the resort that they booked at were employing. So you talk about sustainability. That's Belize. We've been doing this for years. This is not a new thing to us. It's not a contrived notion. It's not a buzzword, right? We ban single-use plastics, right? I mean, this is how far we've taken things like this. Majority of hotels in Belize no longer put water in plastic bottles in the rooms anymore. They have figured out other innovative ways to make water available to you without hurting the environment per se. There's whole industries down in Hopkins. There's a guy that makes bamboo straws.
Bamboo straws,
Somebody might say, well, you have to cut the bamboo down. Bamboo is a regenerative plant, so it grows right back. The more you cut it, the more it grows. So, I mean, it's these innovations that we have to employ in Belize to make our product stand out and make people want to come to Belize more than they want to go somewhere else, because they see the work that we're putting in, not just to attract them, but to also contribute to sustaining our country and our product and the planet in general.
So, in terms of your members and the conversations that will be had with them, because you're saying that we move to this new sustainable way, are they supportive of something like this, of this move? Because it does come with some level of investment, and oftentimes that is one of the things that these small properties can't afford to do. You know, so how do you get them to get on?
It's a common misnomer. I think Dr. Hampton will share my opinion on this, that the common misunderstanding is that building a sustainable product or going sustainable is going to cost you more. Not necessarily, right? Because many of the things that make you sustainable, you are already doing. So for instance, if you decide I'm not going to put bottled water in the room, that doesn't cost you per se, because that's just one product that you're not using and then move into another product, which in the long run may probably be more financially feasible for you anyway than buying something non-renewable like a plastic bottle of water. So it's a misconception. There's a misconception that buying biodegradable bags or containers are expensiver, and while maybe there is something right now that makes it more costlier, then that is something that as the BHA, in terms of our services that we offer to our members, we have to go to the government and then say, why, if this is better for the country, why is this more expensive to do than when we were bringing the stuff that we just tossed away in the oceans, right? So again, I mean, it's these things you talk about, electric vehicles. We're not ready because the tariffs aren't set up to allow for that. So I would want to run an electric van instead of the diesel van, but the tariffs are cost prohibitive right now from the acquiring an electric van.
In place,
because the way it is right now, it's treated like a luxury vehicle and it's taxed like a luxury vehicle, right? So, but it's a championing, it's the BHA being representative of these concerns of its members, right? As the president of the BHA, I get to sit on the board at the BTB, so I help to shape national policy. And then through the BTB, through the Ministry of Tourism, our partnership with them allows us to send things up to government on a wider basis and say, these are the things that matter to us. These are the things that matter to the hospitality industry.
All right. Dr. Mike, is this something that you guys are seeing also at the Caribbean level?
There is a great deal of research that supports just what you heard. One of the things that we found is that it doesn't really take a great deal of investment to create experiences that are memorable. One of the things that we found in a study that was just done last year in 2022 is that the thing that people remember most when they go on vacation are the people that they interacted with. And so Belize has a unique culture. Yes, there are many attractions, the Blue Hole and other things that people really want to see and to experience. But what they really remember are the interactions that they have with the people that are there, the food that they enjoyed with those people, the kinds of things that they experienced from the intellectual side, what they learned from the people that were there. So these are the kinds of things that don't require a lot of infrastructure investment. One of the things that we found several years ago is that people really don't remember the guest room that they stayed in when they went on vacation. Yes, it needs to be clean, it needs to be comfortable, it needs to have the right kinds of amenities that are there. But what they remember are the kinds of things that they did outside of that hotel room. The hotel is the facilitator. It's the home base for them to rest and relax, reinvigorate, and be ready to go out and have all those different exposures that they're looking to get while they're at the destination. So the culture that's there in Belize is really what people want to absorb and to feel. Those are the memories that people are going to take back with them. So when they go and they visit Blue Hole, for example, one of the things they're going to remember is, who was the dive boat operator? What did he say or do? Or what was the dive instructor doing? They're going to remember those things and how people treated them more than anything else. So we're seeing that not just in Belize, but around the world. The data is showing this very clearly, that it's not so much the physical attributes as it is the human attributes. There was a TED Talk that was done several years ago by a woman by the name of Ana Dolce, and she explained the difference between service and hospitality. Service is transactional. We can all do that. We can provide good guest check-in and check-out, and we can make sure the bed is made, and we can do all those things. But what we can't do is the hospitality, which are the emotions. So people have to concentrate on how they deliver that human interaction to be able to create those emotions that people remember.
That is so interesting because honestly, well, my family, we tend to travel a lot across the country because we want
I was
to
going to
experience.
use you as an example.
You understand? And we go back to certain places because it's the how we've been treated and that experience that we've had. You understand? And so I get it. My question though is like, we've seen where people are coming into Belize. You have international tourists, you have more domestic travelers, right? How do we ensure that we are also meeting the capacity, that we have enough hotels, enough spaces for these people to be at? Because at the end of the day, that's what you guys focus on as well, right?
Listen, right? There are about 900 roughly licensed hotels in Belize right now, more or less about 10,000 rooms. I think last year for 2022, the national occupancy rate for the entire year was lower than 30%.
Yeah.
So that's my first thing that I bring up when people ask me about how are we going to meet the capacity. Because the first inclination or the first answer that most people would gravitate to is to say, well, we need to build more alayas or more branded. I disagree. What I think we need to do is invest in the existing hotels that are here. People have given their life savings to this industry. Belize is a lot of mom and pop type operations that have put their life savings, their effort, their energies into this. And I think that we should not leave them behind. I think they built the industry and they should reap the rewards first before we go on to say, okay, now we're maxed out, now we need more hotel rooms. We have hotel rooms. It's a matter of making them international standards so that we can really aggressively bring more business into those rooms and get the national occupancy rate up. That's where that would be my direction that I would prefer to go, rather than trying to do. Let's get investors to come in and prop up the people that are already in the industry, rather than bringing new construction in.
I understand you completely, because honestly, it was the mom and pop shops, resorts that we saw buckle because of the COVID pandemic, and there wasn't any like safety net for them, but they were the originals in the industry, and so like, what happened to them? Some of them were not able to
some of them did not come back.
You know?
We were pushing close to 1,000 hotel licensees before COVID, and then obviously it may sound like 100 is not a lot, but in a country like Belize, 100 accommodations or properties, that is a lot to lose, and that is something that we still need to go back and look at. I mean, COVID is 3 years in the rearview mirror, but I mean, the effects are long lasting, and we will be feeling those effects for a while. We are only in 2022, we were able to get back to about 80 something percent of the business arrivals that we were doing prior to COVID. Although revenue is up, revenue is ahead, but the revenue is driven by the demand for travel. Revenge travel played a big role last year, and then again now there was some consideration that the recession in the US would cause travel to buckle again, but no, really people just basically said, well,
they want to get outside.
We're going now.
We're going to go outside.
Now. We really can't afford it.
Awesome.
But gentlemen, we want to say thank you guys so much for joining us. That about wraps up the time that we have, but we definitely look forward to the AGM this Friday. And we want to congratulate you guys as well on the scholarship program, the work that's being done. Congratulations to you as well. And yes, thank you guys so much for joining us. You as well, Dr. Hampton.
And Dr. Hampton will be here in person on Friday.
Oh, nice.
Awesome.
So he's delivering our keynote speech in the afternoon.
Welcome in advance to Belize.
All right. Well, we're going to wrap things up, and we're going to take our final break. And when we come back, we hear our eye opener, and of course, we wrap up.
Yeah.
Get ready, babe. We're going on a vacation.
Finally, where are we going?
Don't worry, babe. I have we covered.
Are you sure you know where we're going?
Yes, babe. Oh, right there, see? Babe, the price me too good to be true. Me look much more better in that picture.
When life throws you a curveball, Belize Bank has your back. With our online financing, you can turn any vacation mishap into a dream getaway.
Cheers to Belize Bank for making our dream vacation a reality.
Thanks to you, babes, to turn things around.
No thanks to you, cheapo.
Out.
Experience the future of financing with Belize Bank online, where you can secure funds for anything, from anywhere, at any time, all without stepping foot in a bank. Apply for a loan today and unlock a world of possibilities.
The Belize Tourism Board, Mars Production, and Belican present the biggest show to hit the jewel we call Belize. It's the Belize International Music and Food Festival 2.0. Join us on Saturday, July 29th and Sunday, July 30th at the Marion Jones Stadium with live performances by Morgan Heritage, the dancehall queen Spice,
Me's a girl, me no fight over man.
Busy Signal,
enough of them stairs,
Afrobeat sensation Rotimi, the biggest dancehall artist for 2023, Byron Messiah, alongside Skinny Fabulous, Jadelle, Earth and Owls, Mr. Warming Up Adam O, and Lyrical. It's the Belize International Music and Food Festival 2.0, July 29th and 30th. Come savor the rhythm as we pair music with the best of Belizean cuisine. Sponsors are Belize Tourism Board, Belican, Niche, Pop, ICB, Wine Smith, eCash, Dolphin Production, DigiWallet, Channel 5, Love FM, Creme Radio, Channel 7, Vibes Radio, Fiesta FM, and OYE Radio.
Belize's favorite Tuesday night entertainment is back. KTV The Remix Season 5. On Tuesday, July 4th, we go live on Channel 5 and streaming on Facebook and YouTube. But what better way to enjoy KTV than to be seated at the Bliss? Come out and win fabulous prizes and a chance to compete in our KTV challenges. Tickets are available at Channel 5 on Coney Drive or at 88th Store on Central American Boulevard in Belize City for only $3 for children and $5 for adults. The show starts at 8 p.m. at the Bliss Center for the Performing Arts. KTV The Remix Season 5. It's going to be fun, exciting, and live only on Channel 5.
Sign up for Smart Share Plan and save big. Whether you're a small entrepreneur starting up your business, a student on a limited budget, or a family trying to save, this is the plan for you. With unlimited SMS, calls, and data, we help you save. Get up to 5 lines for as low as $30 per line monthly, only with Smart. Sign up today at any Smart showroom or sales manager countrywide. So get your business going, share more memories with friends, and be ready for the day with Smart.
Welcome back and thank you for sticking with us. We had 3 great conversations this morning, starting things off with a representative from the National AIDS Commission. Enrique Romero, the executive director of the National AIDS Commission, was able to really share with us where they are going as it relates to their work at the commission. Of course, he also touched on the HIV amendment law that took place, the repeal of that law, and really this step that is taken and what it means to reduce stigma and encourage persons to get tested as well. And of course, in our second segment, we were also joined by Alberto August, which was a great conversation, Dwayne. I really saw that it sparked a lot for you as a student yourself doing your master's, where Alberto August is really utilizing research that was done and oftentimes is left in a flash drive. And of course, they're done by Belizeans about Belize. And he has been able to create a platform where we can share that research. Of course, it offers conversations after, a sense of fulfillment by the researcher. But the conversations that take place after is what I think is really important about his particular platform. And then we close things off with the Belize Hotel Association. They were talking about their scholarship program and the upcoming AGM as well.
Yeah, that happens this Friday here in Belize City. Of course, there's so much that we found out about where the industry is going, and that people, tourists, domestic and international alike, they're traveling for an experience and not just to be inside a hotel. They want to make these connections with our people, with our culture, with our environment, what we have to offer. And of course, that is happening on Friday, and we will try to bring that for you in our newscast. Then, Sabrina, today was a really, really good day. I really enjoyed that topic with the National AIDS Commission, of course, and the repeal of that act, because we're trying to get to 0 new transmissions by 2030, and at this rate we're seeing 250 annually, new cases of HIV annually. So there has to be a cultural shift. We have to make a change. And yeah, I'm looking forward to that education conference too.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's get it. Of course, we have to big up. It's a birthday for somebody, for people everywhere, and we have to say happy 40th birthday to Indira Gillett. Happy birthday, girl.
Happy birthday to you.
Yeah.
She looks so beautiful.
Yes, she does. Wishing you so much more, so many more beautiful birthdays. Of course, enjoy your day. You know what? All about you today, girl.
Yes.
All about you.
Yes, it's her 40th birthday, and
Yeah.
that's an amazing milestone to be celebrating. So we hope that you celebrate your 40th the best way you can.
Yes.
All right, but we're going to go into our eye opener this morning, and that's a great way to close off of the show and to really give, our viewers a great start to their day. And of course, our eye opener is taken from dailyom.com, and it goes like this. When we feel stuck, it can be helpful to let go of our resistance to the change trying to take place. When we feel stuck in our lives, it's important to take stock of what is going on and find out if there is something we are doing or not doing that is keeping us stuck. Sometimes the situation is out of our control, and we need to look within to find the patience to wait until things move forward again. Many times, though, we can find the source of our stagnation in our own hearts and minds. Sometimes we are clinging to old ideas about reality, and we need to make adjustments that will bring us back in tune with life so we can flow again. Sometimes we find that fear of change is what's keeping us stuck, and we can resolve to find ways of facing that fear. In all this, be kind to yourself. And remember that we all get stuck sometimes. Think of it as a part of your process, a necessary step on your journey, rather than a problem that shouldn't be happening. This can help to keep your frustration at bay and give you the space you need to take a deep breath and really figure out what's going on. Beautiful eye-opener this morning. And we hope, of course, as always, that these eye-openers are helpful to your day or your week, but in general are just helpful to give you some perspective on whatever you may be facing at this time. So we want to thank you guys so much for joining us as always. And yes, we don't have any more birthday shout-outs, but we want to say if you would like to give a birthday shout-out, or if you have questions or concerns, you can send us an email at oye@channel5belize.com. And you can also catch us on Facebook at Open Your Eyes BZ, or on Instagrams for behind-the-scene content at OYE Belize. Please, guys, join us again tomorrow as you open your eyes.
Start your morning right.
Until then, keep your eyes, your mind,
and your hearts.
Have a great Tuesday, and see you at KTV The Remix.
Yay!
that you love me. In and out, you're a shooting star, I see. Around we go. Que por ti yo sentí was cat in every ocean. Took more than that. Make you love me. This man loves you. I know exactly who you could be. I wanna taste. You're crazy now. Don't tell me that. Sky, yeah, you watch the light and around me. Yeah. I want you to stay. I changed you. I was smile upon my Jolene, Jolene. Never been a
Open Your Eyes was brought to you by the Belize Bank. Our country, your bank.